All right, so we're back now, and we left off with getting our leeks on, and they're cooking. And now what we're going to do, we're going to finish up and start to saute some things. So we've got our carrots, and we're going to just put a few carrots in with our leeks. So we're going to go ahead and chop them up. Now, one of the things I wanted to say about carrots, a lot of times people are used to getting these big, giant carrots. Carrots can grow anywhere from 2 inches, that's small, right, you know, 2 little index fingers, all the way up to 3 feet long. Now, for those of you who haven't been in the garden much, haven't visited your farmer's market, and you're used to all that designer vegetables that are at the grocery store, your carrots should look like this. Now, these are about 6-7 inches. And this is good. These are organic. I picked these up from the local farmer's market in my neighborhood. Now, I know everybody was told when they were little to eat their carrots so that their eyes could have good vision. Now, somebody says that's an old wives' tale, but it is not. Carrots are good for helping to protect your night vision. Okay? They are a rich source of vitamin A, which, let's see, in a cup of carrots you're going to get about 68% of your recommended daily value for vitamin A. Also, beta-carotene. And that's what's going to be protecting your vision. Okay? So eat your carrots. But what I wanted to say about the carrots in terms of choice when you're going to select them. The larger the carrot grows, the more the nutrients have been depleted. The reason being is that as the carrot grows, it needs more of the nutrients and minerals from the soil to grow. But as it grows, then once you're grown, in some cases, you don't need as much nutrients. So your body, say for instance, stops producing things. Like for instance with women, when they get to menopause, it's because their body stopped producing the estrogen that their body needs. Because it doesn't need it anymore. Why? Because it says, look, I'm not ready to produce any more children, so why do I need to keep producing that hormone? But, and the body still needs it, the body's just not going to produce any more of it, so you have to get it from a different source. Same thing with the vegetables. If you keep letting it grow, it's going to stop using the nutrients that are trying to come from the soil into the plant. So then you're going to run out, is what I'm going to say. So you want to get these carrots so they're not so big. They're just about so right. 6-7 inches maximum. You got a good source of nutrients in there. They're packed with a lot of nutrients because they're kind of at their prime at this point. Okay? So when you're eating it, you're going to get the richest nutrients that the vegetable has. Carrots are that way. Same thing with your broccoli, your cauliflower. You know, you get these big, huge cauliflowers. It's like, oh, I've got a bunch of cauliflower. But it's going to be, the nutrients are going to be a little bit depleted. So, all right, we're going to keep on moving. I'm going to toss out carrots in here with our leeks. I don't drop them on. And then, let's see. We're ready to start some sauteing, and I'm going to bring in our nice portobello mushroom. Now, as I was saying earlier, the portobello mushroom is an excellent meat replacer for somebody who's looking to substitute the meat in their diet. The reason being is that it just gives on the texture of the meat. It's not a meat replacer in the sense that you're going to get the same nutrients. But in terms of texture in your food, which because most people that are not eating meat anymore, if they're craving anything, they're craving the texture, not necessarily the item itself. Okay? Now, when you're choosing your portobello mushrooms, I just want to say this because a lot of people get, again, vegetables they're not used to working with. and they don't know what to do with them. So when you go to your market to get your vegetable, your mushroom should be dry, should not be wet. It's not one of those vegetables you have to keep watering down just to keep it vibrant. So it should be dry because, you know, most people may not know this, but mushrooms are fungus. Now, having said that, there's, just like there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, there are good funguses, okay? So if you have an adversity to fungus, you might not eat the mushroom, but don't knock it, okay? But again, and then to store this, you could probably keep a portobello mushroom in your refrigerator, in your vegetable section, for about maybe 4 or 5 days, 6 at the most. But what you want to do is wrap it in a dry paper towel. Don't moisten the paper towel. And then put it in the refrigerator away from the moisture. So put it in your vegetable bin. Okay? Now, again, packed full of folate, you know. So unless you have an allergy to mushrooms, say if you're a pregnant woman or a mother or a young woman that's, you know, trying to keep your nutrients up because you are intending to get pregnant, folate is one of those nutrients that women that are in their childbearing years and who are pregnant need to have in their diet. It's got a good source of niacin, which is your B3, vitamin B3. And these vitamins, the B vitamins, are pretty much there for your cell metabolism. So keep that in mind. Again, foods can be your medicine. Okay? And you don't have to be a doctor to prescribe these foods to yourself. You just have to decide that you want to eat them. Okay? This is going to be a part of your assignment as we talk about why we eat. To know what's in your food. And as you're cooking your food, it's a good idea, especially if you're not familiar with that food, to find out, you know, what this food's property is. You know, what nutritional value does this food have for me? You know, I've been told by my doctor I need more vitamin C in my diet, I needed more calcium. Well, find out what your calcium-rich foods are and eat those foods. You know, niacin is one nutrient, though, that you do have to get. You have to be careful when you're eating it. Not many people overdose on niacin, but it is possible. And they call it a niacin flush. And it usually causes your skin to turn flush, red. Okay? And then it has some other things that it'll do as well. We're going to get our stove started over here so that we can start sauteing. Because what we're going to do now, we're going to saute. I'm just going to transition here. We're going to saute our green peppers, mushrooms, and our cauliflower so that we can put them over our quinoa. Now, our wonderful, wonderful red quinoa. This quinoa is it's almost a complete food. I'm going to go as far to say that it is. The Incas and the peoples of Peru, the Incas called it the mother food, and the Peruvians called it the food of the gods. Because what happened was that when they ate this food, they got such contentment and such energy from eating it, you know, that it maintained their diet and their health in a way that made them think that, you know, the gods were the ones that had provided this food and that it was food for the gods because, of course, they, you know, worship their gods. It definitely has a high source of iron. It's got about 21% of your daily value of iron. It has a good source of dietary fiber and manganese. It's got like 22% of your daily value of manganese. I can't speak enough about it, so we're going to cook it. I encourage you to go out and buy it the way that you cook the quinoa. Well, we got our pot. I'll just demonstrate. We're going to take a cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water. You cook it almost the same way as rice. The only difference is in the timing. With quinoa, you're not going to cook it for 20 or 30 minutes. Quinoa is a little less time. You can cook it more about 10 or 12 minutes, and then after that, the water will have absorbed, and you're going to let it sit and reabsorb whatever water is left. And then you're going to have your wonderful, wonderful nutrient. And it's almost not even a grain, but we'll have to tell you in our next segment the history surrounding the quinoa and how it's actually classified. But for now, it is used as a grain. It's been powdered, and they have quinoa flour. So people that have wheat allergies or have other allergies, they can use the flour of the quinoa for some of their baking needs or other things that people are using flour for. So what we're going to do is get a pot on. We're going to put 2 cups of water to boil to go with our quinoa. Some other little tidbits of information that I can give you about our lovely, lovely quinoa. Oh, you can use quinoa in any dish that you would have used rice in, okay? So keep that in mind as well. I just like it because it's a complete food. Nutritionally, you're going to be getting everything that you need pretty much from this quinoa. And I say that, but when you look at the nutritional content of the food, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, again, the textures, we've been conditioned a lot to eat a certain way, and so we get a new texture of food and we don't like it, or we're not used to it, so we don't continue to experiment. With things like this portobello mushroom, the quinoa, the radicchio, I encourage you to go ahead and experiment. If you're out and there's a dish that has some of these ingredients in it, try it so that you see how the professionals cook the dish, and then you can kind of gauge how you want to come home and prepare it if it's something that you really like. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I heard of that, but I don't know how to cook it. One of the best ways to know how to cook something is to try it when you're out and the professionals have done it, and then that way you know what it tastes like, and you can even ask questions. Oh, what did you use to flavor that with? Or, how best do you cook it? And they'll be more than happy to share that information with you. And then you can tune into segments like Cooking with Saat-Rai and see exactly how the food is prepared. And I'm just finishing up my peppers here, and then we're going to get to sauteing. Okay? So I'm going to go away for a bit, and I'll come back. We'll get our roasted radicchio out, and then we will have